Hello and welcome. Good morning. Sorry, I just how do you not feel good after you get this comment over here? Good morning, everybody. Just want to hang out, do a live stream on a fantastic Wednesday, and it seemed like that would be a fun idea. So, as always, thanks for joining me in an impromptu stream with very little notice beforehand, because that's how these things work. Appreciate everyone's here. There's people I haven't seen in a bit, which is super cool. It's nice to have everyone here. What's up, Tony? What's up, John? What's up, everyone I saw during the countdown? I don't have any specific plans for today. I just wanted to kind of just hang out, talk about stuff. I definitely have things that I can share. It's fun to talk about like cameras, microphones, audio, video, streaming, all that sort of stuff. But wherever we want the conversation to go is where it can go. I did a stream last night on my wife Heather's channel where we were doing a game. It was on her gaming channel, and we were streaming a game. And so I set up like this little streaming setup to do it, and I really liked it. And I was like, I want to use this for something else before I just like put it all away. So I was like, it'd be really fun to do a stream today. And yeah, so that's kind of what we're doing today. It's midnight over there. Oh my gosh. Well, happy tomorrow in the future. I got Michael. Hello. Wait, no, sorry. These profile pictures I thought was the same one. One from Canada, one Bob from Hawaii. Very different places. Bourbon Night, what is up? You've entered the life of two-tone t-shirts. Yeah, thanks. I think it's like $12 on Amazon. Let's talk about what lens to use to get the best wide shot of a theater stage. That's a good question, actually. I don't do a lot of theater stuff, but it really would depend on your camera, because the lens you use on a full frame camera would be different than a crop sensor camera, would be different than like what a camcorder is using, would be different than what a PTZ kind of webcam is doing. Obviously, like wider is usually better. And I'd actually put a little thing right here so I can show you. I'm using, if you look in, where is it? Up here. I'm using the Sony FX3 with 24mm f1.4, and this camera is about, let's say 6 feet, 2 meters away from me. And this is what the shot looks like. So that's pretty wide. Obviously, like nowhere near the size of a theater stage or anything, but yeah. Am I streaming in 4K? I am. I'm actually just using, I'm using Ecamm Live, streaming in 4K over there. But since this was a little like quickly put together setup, I don't know if you can see it over there. I'm just using the Camlink, the good old Camlink $100 capture card, tried and true. And then I have the FX3 set up, and then I also do have my OBSBot Tail 2, which is running over NDI. So I notice there's a little bit of sometimes there's a little bit of stutter, I think because of our network connection. But what's cool about this camera is it's a PTZ camera, so I can do presets, and then like, yeah, I think you can see my feet and my cable problems over here. But what's really cool about this, if I need to show you something, I can move the camera all around, and if I want to snap it back to a preset, boom, there we go, right back into the preset that I had all set up. So take off the FX3 bug, because that was not the FX3 over there. So yeah, so I'm glad it's working well, because our internet connection's not ideal. So yeah, this is the Sony FX3 with my 24mm lens running into the Camlink Pro through HDMI just into Ecamm Live on my MacBook over here. Then I have the Rodecaster Duo, which has this mic. This is the Blue Sona, since rebranded to the Yeti Studio, because Logitech kind of like killed off the Blue microphone brand essentially, which is weird. And then I have the Elgato Wavearm Pro, which I really like because it's so easy to adjust. And honestly, I like this microphone a lot. The reason I'm using it in this setup is just because I wanted it all to match the white, and I just thought that looked cool. We got the Rode XLR cables, which is fun, and Rode USB cables and Rode HDMI cables, because they make really good cables that are pretty affordable, and they come in bright colors. So like, you know, yeah. And then I have this little display here, which is just a little USB-C display. It's an espresso display, and that's where I have like the chat and everything. So I can have my MacBook, you know, the screen is small, having like all of Ecamm plus the chat plus whatever, it's kind of a lot. So that's the basic setup there. Ultimately, it comes down to Rodecaster for audio, FX3 for camera, and Camlink for capture card, which is pretty cool. So there's that there. Roberto, hello from Italy. What's up? Sorry, my comments are not centered and it's bothering me. There we go. I think that's more centered. Did you ever have a problem recording a podcast with your Rodecaster Pro 2? Sometimes mine lost milliseconds in recording. No, I haven't had that. Are you talking about like losing bits of the actual recording or audio drifting out of sync? Because those are obviously two different things. Sync issues are things that definitely happen, and it's not like a defect of the gear or anything. When something goes, the way I've always described it is you have an audio signal and a video signal. And even if they're going, using like the same components into the same computer or whatever, recorder, those are very different types of signals. Like a video signal, the way I describe it is like if you have two runners who are incredibly fast, equal in every way, genetic twins, whatever, but one of them is running while holding a pile of bricks and the other is running while holding a feather, the one with the feather is probably going to get to the destination first, even though it looks like comparatively all things are equal in like their skill level and their speed and stuff. So in this case, audio would be the feather, video would be the bricks. And so what that means is you're sending these signals and the audio just tends to get there first. And so usually in streaming software, recording software, you need to add a delay to bring it back. You need to give them some bricks so you can catch up with the video and then they stay in sync. So that's why things sometimes go out of sync. When that's the case, as soon as you kind of like play, like right now in Ecamm, I have a 4-frame delay. I messed with my settings actually, so I hope it is still in sync. I forgot I tweaked this a little bit. Usually I have a 4-frame delay in Ecamm. So that kind of keeps things in sync. If you're noticing drift, like it starts out in sync and then it kind of goes out of sync, that usually is a frame rate or sometimes a sample rate issue. So in your Rodecaster Pro 2, if you make sure that it's recording at 48,000 kilohertz, that will help. And then also if you play with your frame rates a little bit, it should be fine if you're using 24 or 30 frames or whatever. But I have found like 24 really locks things in nicely and doesn't go out of sync, where sometimes frame rate issues can cause that. And obviously if you're in Italy, there's different frame rates and different standards over there too. So it might be a little more experimenting to work with there. I like this question from Tony. What's your opinion on the Squier Sonic range of guitars, being a guitarist bass player, thinking of getting the next Strat model? I think Squier does interesting things. So I'm trying to figure out where to go from here, actually. I think I'm going to bring up, I do have a Safari window I can share. Let's see. Squier, I never know how to spell Sonic. That's not how you spell that. Strat. What is going on here? Sorry, now I'm interested. Because this, with a single humbucker, it has a volume and a tone. I was like, this looks almost like a Tom DeLonge Strat, but Squier. I'm wondering if they all, no, because this is a Sonic Strat that has, this is just a straight up surf green. I have a Fender that's very, very similar to this. And it's only $230. I don't know. Squier does really, really, really cool stuff. So I can bring my mouse over here. Let me see. Let's use the tail 2 and I can go over here. See how convenient this is? You can see the surf green Strat right here. This is a Fender 50s Strat, and that looks really similar to the Sonic. I guess the color might be slightly different. The Sonic color almost looks more like this one of this Telecaster right here, whereas this is like classic surf green. Oh, I get these colors mixed up all the time. But that guitar I got in 2019, I think it was $700-800, so $230 for what looks to be pretty similar. Is kind of cool, except the thing I did on this one, it's a 50s Strat, so it has all the same specs as you would expect from a 50s Strat, except I put a Seymour Duncan hot rails in it, which completely is not the 50s sound. That is like basically a tiny little humbucker in a single coil pickup size thing. But I also have this guitar over here, this lime green guitar. This is the only Squier that I really have ever owned, actually. This is a Squier Bullet from 2001, and this cost $90 at the time, and I have a video on my second channel about it. Basically, it stayed in pieces for 20 years because I bought it and then I tried to like repaint it or something when I was like in high school, and I couldn't put it back together, and it just sort of stayed in a closet. And then a couple years ago, I decided to like refinish it and stuff. So it's like a $90 guitar with like $400 worth of electronics inside of it. That's my only experience with Squier, and that's super low end. I think where Squier is at now is they make like, they almost make a lot of the guitars you kind of wish Fender was making. Like they do very cool limited edition things, very cool custom things, cool colors, cool components. I don't know. I don't own any of the current ones, but I've heard nothing but positive things about them. So I'm genuinely trying not to buy more guitars. Every time I say that, something happens, but yeah. So there's that. Yes, I'm glad I wore socks today. Otherwise, for some reason, it's just weird. Bob's asking, any tips for streaming and shifting light conditions when adding lights isn't an option using the Tail 2, Tail Air, and ZVE10? See, that is really tricky. When you're doing shifting conditions, if you're able to be behind the camera, then just knowing your camera, maybe even setting up some presets, or just knowing like when to change the ISO, change the color temperature. A lot of times though, when it's like totally out of your control and like it's cloudy and sunny or whatever, then I kind of think it's better to just stick with auto, even though it might not be perfect. And even over here on the Tail 2 right now, this might be a little bit out of sync because I just plugged this in like 5 minutes before the stream, honestly. But something about this camera is I usually leave it on like auto exposure and everything. But since I am in a controlled environment here, I wanted to click it to manual. But when I expose for this, because it doesn't have a constant aperture lens, when I zoom out, because it is an optical zoom, the lens is moving, the aperture of the lens changes, which changes the exposure. And there is an option in the OBSBot Center app. When you go into the exposure section, it says auto brightness compensation. ISO will automatically adjust during zoom. So you can see, even though the lens's aperture is changing, the exposure is not changing. Oh, well, it compensated. It wasn't a super smooth shift. But that seems to work pretty well. So what I've been doing, it's not ideal, but I have just been kind of relying more on the camera's automatic settings than manual settings in those types of situations. Bree says it's a cool camera. It is. The Tail 2 is awesome. Like, I'm probably not doing it justice here, but it's really, really handy in situations like this. Have I done a video for IRL streaming? I have not. Because that's a thing. I've seen people do it, but I don't know. I know there's, I know there's rigs that are dedicated. It's almost like backpacks, and you have like a little camera on your shoulder, so you don't have to like think about much. Sorry, I keep setting the gestures on the OBSBot off, so I need to like turn off gesture control. There we go, because it was, every time I flail my hand, I'm like changing the Tail 2. And I feel like that is probably a setup, because then you don't have to worry about battery, you don't have to worry about connection, you don't have to worry about the camera. You could probably DIY it with something like one of the small YOLO boxes or something, but it's something I actually don't know. I know virtually nothing about. It's one of the many things I know virtually nothing about in the world. Dan, what's up? Thinking about getting a Rodecaster Duo, but since the 2 came out almost 3 years ago, should I just buy it or wait for new products? This is the eternal question with tech. I genuinely have no information or ideas about any new Rodecasters in the mix. What I do know is the Rodecaster Duo, the internals, the guts are all based on the Rodecaster Pro 2. The Rodecaster Pro 2 came out 3 years ago, and it has now, as of like pretty much this summer, been out longer than the original Rodecaster was when the 2 came out. So it has had a longer lifespan than the original. So looking at it that way, you could think, oh, that probably means they're going to come out with a new one because the last one was only out that long. However, the original Rodecaster, I think a thing, as someone who pre-ordered this on day one, I think a thing people forget is it was just a podcast recorder. Like, that is it. That's all it was intended to be at first. And then it was like, well, you could use it for videos, you could use it for live streaming, and it got like a ton of firmware updates throughout the several years that it was the main product, and to adapt it to like a more streaming and video based workflow, which is really cool. So by the end of its like supported life, it was a very different product than it was when it first came out, which is kind of crazy. And I think people sort of forget that. And the reason that they stopped supporting it, believe it or not, is not because of corporate greed or obsolescence. It's because it can't do anything. There was one of the final firmware updates they did for it. They were trying to just add reverb, and reverb was in some of the betas and then out, and then it wasn't in the final firmware because it got to the point where the processor of that thing couldn't handle reverb. Like, it was so maxed out because it was only intended to be like a 4-channel podcast recorder. Like, that's it. And it was kind of pushed to the max with everything that it could do at the end there. And so the Rodecaster Pro 2, I do know that the processor they put into it, I don't know like the numbers or the specs, but I know it is 16 times as powerful as the original Rodecaster. So they did that specifically because they learned from the original Rodecaster that we don't necessarily know where this thing is going to go. Like, we put out the product, but the way people use it could be totally different. And so we want to be able to adapt it and support it and change it and all that kind of stuff. And so they kind of built in more power than it would need, than they thought it would need at the time. So it had lots of headroom to go. So all that to say, I don't think we're near the like processing capabilities of the Rodecaster Pro 2 or Duo or anything yet. And these things aren't devices that people are going to upgrade every year. Like, my original Rodecaster, for a lot of what I do, is still perfect. The only reason I don't use it more is because the preamps aren't as good. Because for dynamic, well, this isn't really a dynamic mic, but for a lot of microphones, you need boosters and things, and that's a hassle. Whereas the Duo and the Pro 2, they have the really, really good preamps and better processing. Well, and the routing is better. Let's be real. You can route everything everywhere all at once, which is kind of awesome. But that, like, there's not really a lot of places they can go from there in terms of like, it has even better preamps. Like, it can run every microphone without a booster. What more do you need? You know, you can route all kinds of stuff. What more do you need? So I don't know. My thought is that you can kind of see this little on the edge of the right there. That's my Rodecaster Video, which is a very interesting device that has been my main like capture card since it came out last year. Normally, you know, I'm using that setup over there for this stuff. But the Rodecaster Video, now that Rode has video capabilities and they have this, what I would think, and this is just my own speculation, I have no info about this, I would think that maybe we're going to start seeing different versions of that. So maybe there would be, like, that is a Rodecaster Video, but it's, you know, it's a small, it doesn't have like faders or anything like this. So maybe we would see something that looks more like a traditional Rodecaster with some video capabilities, like different versions of that. I think that's almost a more likely place for them to go than just like a Rodecaster Pro 3. I don't know though. I have no idea. All that to say, they're really good devices, and they've only gotten better since release, and they just keep adding new stuff to them. So I would go for it, especially heading into this time of year. You could probably find some sales and discounts and things. So there we go. But that's a good question though. Whew. Let's see here. Oh, former teacher. I didn't realize that. That's cool. How can one improve their communication? I tend to be quiet and slow to answer when asked questions on the spot. That's not a bad thing. And it's something that I like in live streams I work on a lot. So what a lot of us are trained to do just culturally from birth is fill every second we can with sound so that people don't interrupt us or take over the conversation, which is why I use a lot of filler words like it's why we also just sort of make sounds, or even sometimes people stutter, like, I'm going to do this, but do this. Obviously you can have a stutter that's a different thing than that, but sometimes it's a desperate thing not to let silence happen because then you want someone to take it over. So if you're quiet and slow to answer, that's not really a bad thing. Maybe it's something you want to improve, but it's also something maybe you just want to get more comfortable with the idea that someone asks you a question and you're going to take a moment, formulate your answer, and then you're going to give your answer. And then people are going to know when you give your answer, it's going to be a well thought out full answer. You're not just sort of like stumbling through everything to fill time right there. So I don't necessarily think it's a bad thing. Something that I did in a public speaking class in college, and then I made my students do when I was a teacher, and we would do speaking like units or whatever, is we would do 60-second impromptu speeches. So I don't know. I could try it right now. It would be something like you're just in the room and you're talking about things. Let me see if I can get a timer going. I'll try to do it here. We would do it without using filler words. So if they used a filler word like they would have to restart after 3 tries. They would, have to stop for the day and go for the next day. So let's see. I'm going to start. Ready, set. So now I'm going to try talking for 60 seconds straight without using any filler words. And this is a really good exercise if you want to improve your speaking and communication skills, because you have to continue talking, but you also have to be aware of what you're saying. You don't have to say anything specific when you're doing this. You can just look at the room around you, look at the space that you're in, and talk about it. I have a wall of guitars over here. We talked about those a little bit, which is kind of crazy because 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There are 8 guitars on that wall and 2 basses. And for the past 3 years, I think I've been much more into bass than guitar. And I feel bad about that. I feel guilty for my guitars, but I just really, really love the bass. I got my Fender American Professional 2 P bass in 2022. And I thought this would be the last guitar that I needed. But then last year they came out with the Mark Hoppus Signature Series. It's beautiful. So I ended up getting that. And currently that is the last guitar or last bass that I will need. And that's a minute. I don't think I use any filler words. So things like that just help a lot. And I noticed when I did that with my students, I thought that was something when I first did it, was like, oh, the whole class could get through this in like 3 days. I think we had to do it for like 4 weeks, like not the whole class period or anything, but we'd spend a little bit of time kind of every day, every couple days, getting through more people. It's a very hard skill to learn, but it's a muscle. You can practice it. You can learn it. And the thing I noticed was not only did their speaking improve afterwards, but what was also really cool is whenever anyone else came in, sometimes teachers or whoever would come in and be speakers in the class, or they'd have announcements. And teachers would come in and be, something along the lines of, okay, there's going to be the whatever club is like having an event, and all my students would just be looking at me like, oh my God, yeah, you can't unhear it once you hear these things. So just practice, but your way of speaking does not have to be like somebody else's. I think that's the thing. I don't want anyone to think that something's wrong with them just because of how they speak, essentially. And you're taking a live stream class. Monday, get to play around with the Blackmagic Ursas and the TriCaster Mini. That's cool. That's like really cool. The Blackmagic ecosystem is dope. Stefan, where's the RK? It's in Heather's office, don't worry. This is a keyboard. This is a Keychron keyboard, which is the first one I've used. They saw the one I did on the Royal Kludge, which I really like, and sent this one, which I honestly am putting together a new computer setup in here, and I was like, I could use a new keyboard, and that would really save me some money, so thank you. So I really like the Royal Kludge. If I had to choose between them, I would still choose that one because it has some nice quality of life features, but I've never used a Keychron keyboard before, and it is really nice. It's insanely heavy because this whole case is just metal, and what's interesting about it is it has a 10 key on the left-hand side, but I'm left-handed, so that's kind of a cool thing, and I really do love the way that it feels. There's like an app you can adjust the key sensitivity and stuff. Let me turn it off so I can not mess with things. But I don't know. It feels really nice. It sounds really nice, and it's a super cool keyboard. There's a couple things it can do. It can do Bluetooth or USB, like a dongle, but it only can do one Bluetooth connection. The Royal Kludge can do 3, so it's super easy. There's a little screen and a knob. You can kind of click through your settings here. And because this doesn't have a little screen, I'm not always sure like what the battery level is. You can check the battery by doing like function B, and then the keys 1 through 9 light up based on like percentage of battery, which is cool. Not as easy just being able to see your battery all the time. And this doesn't have a spot to store the dongle. And the other thing that I'm not into, I hope it's on, okay it is that the caps lock and num lock keys they have an LED that shows you when they're on, but it's like under the key. So you can only see it's active if you're like staring top down on the keyboard. As soon as you're back where you're normally at when you're typing, you can't tell if caps lock or num lock are enabled. And so I've been accidentally hitting caps lock, and then, suddenly my messages is all in caps. I'm like, no. I just kind of wish it had the regular lights like caps lock, num lock. But otherwise, like functionally, it is a beautiful keyboard, and I like it quite a bit. All right, Bourbon Night, what's up? Specific question, starting a video podcast with 2 hosts in studio and a guest that calls in. Is there an auto switcher that will switch to the Zoom guest when they talk? So, I don't know what your current setup is. The two best auto switchers that I'm aware of are the Rodecaster Video and the YOLO Box, both the Ultra and the Extreme. They have slightly different implementations of auto switching, but they're both really, really good and look super natural. Super natural, not like ghosts. Anyway, so either of those would work. The Rodecaster, though, you could probably do this with the video, with an audio source in the video. They just did an update, speaking of Rodecaster updates, where you have been able to connect a regular Rodecaster to the Rodecaster Video, and then it's a USB audio source. But just recently, they released an update where now it can break apart all of the inputs. It can see all the different inputs. So before, the whole Rodecaster, kind of the same way that an ATEM, you have your 4 inputs put into an ATEM, but your computer just sees one video source. So you have to switch between them. The computer can't see them all at once. It was sort of the same thing with the Rodecaster. When you plug the regular Rodecaster into the Rodecaster Video, it just saw one audio source. Didn't matter how you were mixing it together. Now it can see all the individual tracks. And so that means whatever channel you have your Zoom guest on, you could just assign that as you could assign their image, their video to their audio, and then it would switch to them. So I'm sure there's other ways to do it, but that's the one that popped into my head right away, which I really appreciate. Oh, this is super nice. Thank you, Fiery Guy. I'm using Ecamm, which doesn't display the things, but it just tells you what it is. Hippo character applauds whilst nodding in approval, saying GG. Yes, GG's indeed. Thank you so much for that. I really, really, really appreciate that. What's up, Rukin? Future plan for your Blue? I want a Canon EOS M50 since I have the M50 cage lying around. That camera has been around for a while, but it's still, I just learned this week that it is, not only, I knew it was still popular, but especially in like Japan, the M50, like hugely, like maybe one of the most popular mirrorless cameras around. Thanks. I like this little setup here. I kind of like the really wide shot with like more headroom than I don't know. It just looked very theatrical, and I kind of like that. So there we go. Anybody know, this seems like a question for everyone. Best lens for Sony's ZV-E10 totally depends on your needs. If you're doing wildlife photography, that's different than a talking head YouTube setup. But if you're doing the streaming, podcasting, YouTube thing, and the camera's going to be in a situation like this, the one I recommend people go for a lot is the Sigma 16mm f1.4. It's an awesome lens. On the crop sensor ZV-E10, it will end up looking very similar to this. And I have a video actually that shows that. So I have a video called like the ZV-E10 is still awesome, and it also compares it a little bit to the Mark II, but you can see that lens on both cameras and compared to the FX3 right here, which is pretty cool. And Tony's recommending the Zapata 24mm for sure. Tombs and Tendrils, love the vids, bought the Rodecaster Pro 2 and the Rodecaster Video to use together to stream my sessions of Dungeons and Dragons. That is awesome. It's Tin. Editing several clips from some content that was recorded last night. I was wondering, where do you think babies come from? I think that... I don't know. I don't know. My parents never told me. I just showed up. Roberto, talking about pieces of words not recorded. Oh, like a hiccup at the Rodecaster. Oh, that's weird. I went on the whole thing about syncing a while ago, and he was actually talking about like stuff getting clipped out. I have not heard of that problem. If a reset of the Rodecaster doesn't fix that, then I would definitely reach out to Rode support, because that just doesn't work. Let's see here. Michael bought a G Master 51.4. What a beautiful lens. Yeah. The G Master lenses are really, really nice. Oh, the Sonic is replacing the Bullet. Okay, my Squire over here is a Bullet. That's interesting. And for D&D, everything's running into OBS. Is there a way to monitor both Rodecaster devices at once? If you run your audio Rodecaster through USB into the video Rodecaster, then you can just have your headphones running out of the Rodecaster videos thing, and you should be able to hear everything. So yes, the answer is yes, which is very, very cool. Happy early birthday, Tony. It's crazy how quickly October is like almost here. And I know, Matt, I'm actually live. I did it. Oh yeah, the remote. This really does look like a Switch remote, which would be Switch remotes or Switch controllers wouldn't be terrible camera remotes. Is recording in PAL frame rates 2550 still relevant nowadays? I honestly don't know. I know that when I was younger and you would buy cameras like camcorders, you had to buy like the NTSC or the PAL version depending on where you were. I don't know if that matters anymore, and I feel like all cameras can just do a little bit of everything. I think where it comes into play is with like the electrical grid and flickering. So if I took like these cameras in the US right now, which are set up and everything looks fine, I went to Europe, you might notice like lights flickering and doing waving things until I change some of my settings. So I think that's maybe the most important thing of switching now. I like this. I like this saying we're talking about, should you buy now, wait later? The saying is, buy when you need from the options available. Because you can, unless you know, like, you know, it's pretty certain that Apple's going to release a new phone in September. So if you need a new phone and it's August, you might as well just wait till September. Unless it's those types of situations where you know a new thing is coming out that you might be interested or would knock the price down of the current thing, yeah, just go for it and be happy with what you got. Appreciate this, Matt. It means a lot coming from you. I just played with this little setup yesterday and wanted to, I should stream a video with it. Alrighty, what's up, Mike? Wish there was a way to completely shut off auto tracking on the Tail Air Tail 2. You can. You totally can, because I just did it, because I keep doing it. I always flail my hand and then it auto tracks. If you use the OBSBot Center apps, either on the desktop or mobile, you can go into the settings on the desktop app. It's under the More tab, and you can just turn off gesture control entirely. So that is a way to go around there. The butt pod. What's up? Do the framed pictures in your wall help reduce in-room echo at all? I don't. Hello. Maybe. Maybe they do. If I were smart and someone asked this once, they were like, oh, do you have like sound treatment behind those? So each picture is a piece of sound treatment that's sort of like, no, the answer is no. I had a picture wall. I've added to it much over the years, but since prior to YouTube, I just put like a photo wall in here when this was just my office. So it was, I think they help a little bit because they do create a texture and sound waves don't handle that well, but I don't know if it's like night and day difference, but I like the way that it looks. So that's a good question though. I don't know how to like test it for sure. Oh no, I lost my thing where I was here. I'm just going to have to scroll old school. Let's see here. Fiery guy having so much audio trouble live is glass blowing and trying to get environment versus noise. Oh my gosh. I hope the mic reviews have helped. Lots of mics, lots of mixers and stuff have noise gates, which can hopefully help. And then for something like glass blowing, man, I don't even know. I'm thinking of diving into like lapel microphones, lavalier microphones, pencil condenser microphones positioned right near what you need. Might be the way to go to try to drown out everything else, but that is a constant battle for sure. Wouldn't it be cool if Blackmagic combined the Hyperdeck Shuttle and the Ecamm Mini Extreme? What is the Hyperdeck Shuttle? I don't remember what that is. Because Blackmagic product names. Blackmagic Hyperdeck Shuttle. Oh. Okay. I see how that could be helpful with something like an Ecamm. Why do I have... This is not the Sony... Sorry, I'm realizing I have my camera thingy up there, which I didn't mean to. I wanted to put little things so I could tell you, like, this is the OBSBot Tail 2, and this is the Sony FX3, because people always ask, and I can just tell you without having to tell you. And I thought that would be cool. I like this look of being able to see all streaming setup. Feels Mad Hatter Professor. I like that. Yeah, it's... Well, the game we were playing, so I set this up, if you weren't here at the beginning, on my wife Heather's gaming channel. We were playing a game called Content Warning last night. Tennille was in there. It's a really fun game. I don't even know how to describe it. None of us have ever played it before, but it's like a Monster Hunter game, but instead of like killing the monsters, you have to film them and then upload the footage for views, and that's how you like earn your living. And if you don't get enough views, it tells you that the algorithm like abandoned you and that your life is mid and everyone forgot about you. So it hits very close to home, but it's also like a really fun kind of goofy game. And so like that's why I had like the old XL1 over here. And I was streaming on Heather's channel. I just wanted to put together a little gaming stream. So I had like Ecamm over here and then the game here. And we were playing around. But I really I just liked the way the setup. It was something I just kind of threw together yesterday afternoon. And I was like, I want to use this for more than just the one gaming stream. So like, I'll do a stream on Wednesday. It's perfect. I like it. Lewitt 240 Pro with Elgato audio interface for 250 Rode NT1 5th gen used with USB at 250. Honestly, I would go with the Elgato in this specific case. I love the Rode NT1s, but the 5th gen's USB like kind of drives me crazy because it's missing a couple really key USB features to me. You have no indicator that the mic is on at all. There's not a light. There's not anything. I don't know. For some reason, USB microphones, I like to know the mic is on. This one, like it's easy because there's no indicators here, but it's going into a mixer and I can see the levels, so I know the mic is on. I like when I have some kind of indicator. The other thing, which I think is really crucial for a USB microphone, is there's no headphone output on the NT1 5th gen. So you have no way to monitor with no latency when using it in USB. And to me, that's a big problem. So it's cool that it has USB. I think it can come in clutch from time to time, but I wouldn't buy it as a USB microphone. So between those two things there, I would go with the Lewitt and the Elgato. But if you want to throw in a different thing in the mix, I do really like the Shure MV7 Plus, their new USB XLR combo. So if you like that XLR USB option of the NT1, I really like the MV7 Plus. If you're going to be using it USB most of the time, obviously it's a very different sounding microphone from the NT1, so depends how much you love that condenser sound. I have like 2 NT1s right there. There's a Signature Series and then the 4th gen. Those are the XLR ones. I love the NT1. But yeah, for USB, I love the MV7 Plus. The only thing I don't like about it, like I love the way it sounds, I love the functionality, is it has its mute control right here. And a lot of times if you grab the microphone to move it, you will accidentally tap the mute control and then mute it. So you have to be very careful not to do that. What's up? Videos are very helpful. I am really happy to hear that. Hopefully they're helpful to somebody sometimes. Back to Ashes. Inquiring minds would like to know, have you had a chance to try the NTH50 headphones yet? I have not. I have not tried them. I love my NTH 100s. And I've actually never used like this, like smaller on-ear headphones. So I'm kind of curious about them, but no, I haven't had a chance to try them yet. I still got my NTH 100s. I have several sets of those. So those are the ones I use there. Lucy Juicy's loving the SE Dynacaster with the Rodecaster Duo. That is a good combo. My Dynacaster was on the wall. It's in the drawer now, but that's a fun thing. Oh, here we go. Talking about NTSC versus PAL. Power frequencies in Europe, 2050, 100, always the most flicker-free way to record. Yeah. Miguel, what's up, Miguel? Since we have things like wireless HDMI now, what's a piece of AV tech you'd like 20 to 30 years from now? Oh my God. 20, 30 years? I can't imagine 20, 30 months from now. Part of me, the pessimistic part of me is like everyone just gonna be living in caves again in 20, 30 years from now, remembering a time when we had this thing called the internet and stuff. If that doesn't happen, I really do feel like going into the world of stuff like the Tale 2 over here, where you it's sort of like a different type of camera. And like, I feel like there would be more of a, like, I don't know what, I hate to use the term AI because I feel like, I think that's just marketing here. I don't know if there's any artificial intelligence happening here. But cameras that can kind of do a little bit of everything, or you have something like a YOLO box where like you can have a little thing and maybe, wouldn't it be cool if the cameras are very, very small, but super high quality, and they just come out of there and you can like set them places, or I don't know, like something like that where you can get great quality from multiple cameras, but everything is just sort of in this ultra compact thing. And I don't know, maybe something like that would be cool, but I don't know. Like everything is so good now, it's hard for me to think of like what would even be better. Lower prices and more 4K, I think, is what we're going for here. Just started my audio journey with the Scarlett 2i2 and the Sennheiser Profile and the Sennheiser MKE 600 and the Sony Wireless ECMS1. That's awesome. Any other audio interfaces you recommend in the 250 to 300? I think that 2i2 especially if it's the 4th gen, that's got you covered for like the foreseeable future. The only reason I would see to switch and do anything is if you wanted something like a Rodecaster, where the benefit to this over something like the Scarlett is that you have the channels and the mixers and all that kind of stuff. Sorry, it is a mixer. You have the channels and the faders to physically control things and kind of route more options. Because even though they're only, on this one, there are only 4 channels, it's got like 7 actual channels. You can swap them out. On the Rodecaster Pro, the full-size one, you have 4 XLR. You have like 9 channels that you can swap around. You can route different things all over the place. So if you want to kind of get into that world, then this is $500. So it's beyond the $300 price range. But yeah, something like this would, and this is kind of, it still is, the Rodecaster series is still the best, I think. So I do really like the Mackie DLZs, but they're kind of like not really getting updates or anything anymore. So yeah. There we go. Prompts his English class talking about public speaking and stuff. Istanbul, what's up? My wife Selin is not a big fan of yours because I have a lot of gear for me. I'm sorry. I hope I'm not causing too much marital stress and problems. Let's see. Only own too many guitars and only one bass. Yeah, actually, fun fact, it was September 15th, 2001. So this past Monday, 2 days ago, was the day I bought my first guitar, which was actually a bass from a pawn shop in 2001. So 24 years ago? And I had the bass for a while, but then a couple months later, I bought the Squire Bullet for $90 and kind of went from there and went really into guitar and didn't really come back to bass until I bought an SX bass, which is like a $130 bass, like 9 years ago, just to have a bass. Like if I want to do recordings and I just needed like a simple bass track, I could do that. It's a simple P bass. It was on the wall back here for a long time, and now it's actually out. It's kind of in our kitchen so that I can just pick it up and play it whenever. But if it gets like bumped or moved, it's not the end of the world. Yeah, and for some reason, and when I got this P bass, I just really, really wanted to get back into bass a few years ago. I bought what I thought would be the nicest, and is like the nicest thing I could get. And then I took a bass class and played a lot, and something clicked where I was like, I feel like I understand this instrument so much more than any other instruments. Like it just, something clicked, and I love the bass so much. And so that's why I've been playing it so much more than my guitars. Ryukin, it's okay for my on-camera vids. Like I recorded one of my new shoes with my camcorder in 25, so I have a PAL version. Sweet. In the UK, there's a radio comedy show where it's called Just a Minute, where the contestants have to speak on a random subject without hesitation or repetition. I guess that's the thing, right? You could just be like, blue guitar on the wall. There's a blue guitar on the wall. Did you know about the blue guitar on the wall? And that would be like a cheat code. Keychron. Yeah, I know Keychron is like, they're legit. They've been around a long time. I am overall quite impressed with this. I like it. I like them both. They're just different keyboards. If I had to choose though between this and the Royal Kludge that's currently in Heather's office, I would choose the Royal Kludge, just because it does have some quality of life features that I like a little bit more. What is your favorite equipment between camera and audio and microphone? That's tough. I like them all. The reason I lean so much more towards audio is like, not necessarily because I prefer it, but because I think it's so important and so underrated, and it's such an easy way to level things up. You know, like I see people who, you know, they want to spend thousands of dollars on lenses and cameras and all this stuff, and they're using like the built-in microphone, or they put a cheap shotgun microphone on top of their camera and put the camera 5 miles away from them and think it's going to sound good. And it's like literally just getting like a Hollyland wireless kit for your phone is going to make your videos look so much better, because it's weird when something sounds good, it ends up looking better. It doesn't make sense, but it's true. So I feel like audio is such an easy thing to overlook. It's not an easy thing to do or understand, but the leap between having like no attention paid to audio to just minor attention paid is huge in terms of like the quality of what you're making. And so trying to get people to make that leap is just really important to me. But I like everything. It kind of varies, you know, like right now I'm really into like the webcams and the PTZ things, because those are new to me and it's fascinating and fun, and I have some crazy things that are out now, and that just is awesome. You know, and then something happens where I'm like, I learn I can do something cool with an audio thing or whatever. I'm getting my first PC in 20 plus years on Friday. So that's going to be a whole new world of stuff to dive into. And who knows what that'll unlock in terms of like video, photo, whatever. So we'll see. Key sensitivity. Like it's weird. These have like magnetic switches, I guess. So you can go into an app and you can adjust like, I don't know what it's called. I'm not a keyboard pro, but like the travel, like how much you have to press the key before it activates. You can adjust it on each key specifically if you want to, or the keyboard as a whole, which is really cool. I haven't really seen that. I need to know what the monitor on your right is. This is an espresso display. These are really sweet. Like, look how thin it is. It's actually just magnetic. So this is just a little, looks like a little iMac stand, and then this is the screen, and it just goes right there. And it's just one Thunderbolt cable to my computer. This doesn't need separate power or anything. It has 2 USB-C things on the side. This was something actually last year when I got the Road Creator of the Year award. This was like one of the prizes they sent. So it has been awesome to use since. It's a really nice little monitor. It looks awesome. It's like 4K. It's gorgeous. It's very, very, very nice. Oh, and sorry, I didn't even look at the name. I didn't realize it was you, David. What's up? Thanks for becoming a member. Yeah, I thought you were a member. You've been on my list anyway of the end of the videos. Michael, curious about your perspective on this. Let's say that theoretically a major company invites many creators to a lavish week-long event. Does this affect the creator's ability to be impartial? Wow, what a random question to ask on this week. I can't imagine what you were talking about. So this is the thing that happens in the world of content creation is brands, I think across all niches. Obviously, I'm only aware of the ones more in like the camera, photo, video niche, audio niche. Sometimes companies like will essentially take people on vacations. Sony, Panasonic, or Lumix, I think, are the ones that are kind of most known for it. I think Fuji's done it. But it'll be something like Sony does. Okay, I'm going to set Sony aside a little bit. I've never gone to any of these. I've never been invited to any of these. But I have lots of friends who have gone to them. And I've thought about, like, if you're invited, do you go or not? So I've thought about this. There are some of them where it is like, I think Lumix is the one where maybe they do it the worst. And I say this because they tend to take people to beautiful locations, Japan, Northern Europe, whatever. They take them there for a week. They give them all the camera gear. And I'm sure there's like, no pressure, just we want your honest feedback. But like, you're using the newest gear in the most optimal situations. I don't know. It's like, I'm somebody that, like, if somebody bought me dinner, you know, like, I don't mean business wise. I just mean like people, like, you know, if someone on my hockey team paid for dinner one night after a game, like 4 years later, and be like, oh my God, I owe them for the hockey game, or I can't get mad at them about something because they bought me dinner that one time. Like, I have a hard time separating that stuff. So I have a hard time thinking that you could go for a week and not have that affect your impartiality. The reason I put Sony in a different thing, Sony does this too. They do it several times a year. But something they do that I'm not sure the other companies do as much is that it is kind of more creator focused. So it's not necessarily based around product releases, which is kind of cool. So it's not like you don't get a flood of here's the new product video that everyone happened to make while they were on the trip. So all the videos look exactly the same. You don't really get that happening as much. And the thing I do know from the people who have gone to Sony is that they have a lot of one-on-one time with the engineers and designers. So they sit down with the actual people who make the stuff. And I've heard that I don't know how true this is or not, but a thing I heard was that several years back, I guess the A7S III was kind of the camera that like launched the new tier of Sony cameras when it came out in 2020. And then every company has been like, that has sort of been the standard, like then the FX3 and all that kind of stuff. The A7S III was a camera people wanted for a long time. From what I'd heard, it was actually planned to be launched like a year or more before. And they went to one of these events and got so much feedback from what people actually wanted in the camera that they almost had to like redesign it. And the camera that we got was largely due to that kind of feedback from those events. I don't know how much truth there is to that specific example. That's just what I heard, so take it for what it's worth. But that to me is really valuable. And especially seeing how good that camera is, not just was, but is still to this day. I would rather have that than the camera that like the focus group, I guess it's almost like a focus group, but it's different. But like the the executive boardroom decides that we need to make. So I think Sony does things a little differently. When it comes to impartiality, this is something that I actually have a lot of strong thoughts on. I don't think you need to be impartial. I think it depends on the, like, you know, like when it comes to cars, right? There are people who are like Ford people. If I was interested in buying a Ford car, I would go to the Ford person. I wouldn't really ask the Chevy person. Like, I would want to know the person who's really into this thing, right? If you're into Fender guitars, ask the Fender guy about Fender guitars, right? There's nothing wrong with having bias and not being impartial. It's how you share it. Actually, did a whole podcast episode on this a few months ago. It's how you frame what you're doing. If you're framing yourself as an objective source, an objective reviewer, you're taking a journalistic approach, then impartiality is huge. And so going into something like a week-long event that could affect your impartiality, that's something to think about. Do you go on the event, but you pay your own way? So you're there, but you're not getting anything for free. You're paying to be there. That could be a way to, whatever. Even just having, cut and dry. I've known people who go to those events, but their thing is like they will not make anything at those. They're not going to film anything, make a video about it, do whatever. They're there to like get the info and that's it. So there's no expectation to, sorry, I'm getting a spam call. There's no expectation to, to do anything on their part. If you are a huge Sony fan and they're your favorite cameras in the world and you get to go to the Sony camp and then you make a bunch of videos about how the Sony camp is awesome, Sony camera's awesome, I don't really think there's anything wrong with that if you're clear to people that you're the Sony fan. You're not trying to be objective. If you're Consumer Reports or whatever and you're like, we are just objectively reviewing everything that someone can buy, then the objectivity is there. It's not that you have to be objective or don't. And in fact, I kind of like... It's such a hard line in the world to be objective. Like I will always, not always, often recommend Rode things over other things for many reasons. I'm hella biased towards Rode, and you know that. But I also have no problem saying when I don't think something is great, like the NT1 5th gen, I don't think is a good USB microphone. Not that it's not good. I think there are better options if you're going to use main USB microphones, a microphone mainly for USB. So, but I still like Rode stuff and I'm still rooting for them, right? And when I see like the knockoff Temu great value version of a Rodecaster come out, I kind of like am not that into it and I'm biased against it in a lot of ways. So that's just me though, but it's pretty obvious. Like I'm pretty clear about that stuff. I don't try to be like, no, I would never have a bias towards something. Of course I have preferences. I'm biased towards Sony cameras. That's why I bought them. That's why I spent my money on them. I'm biased towards Elgato boom arms because that's what I like. Like, I'm biased towards the restaurants I like. Anyway, sorry. It's a whole thing. Bias isn't bad. It's how you frame it, how you communicate it, how transparent you are about it. That's the important thing. I'll get off my soapbox now. Logan says, I was going to get the blue Sona, but felt like the sound was slightly worse than a lot of mics in the same price category. What are your thoughts? I'm using it right now. I like it. My dedicated review on this compares it. I do a blind comparison with the SM7B. And when you take the visual out of it and it's the blind comparison, a lot of people either couldn't tell the difference or actually did prefer the Sona, which is very interesting. I really like this microphone, especially if you're using it. It's $150 cheaper than the SM7B. Still love the SM7B. It's like mine's right here. It's a pink thing on the wall. Boop. The thing with the Sona is if you're using it with a mixer or an interface that doesn't have a lot of gain, since it has a built-in booster and it runs off phantom power, you can use it. It's like a condenser mic. It's the functionality of the condenser mic with the sound of a dynamic microphone. I think that's really important for a lot of people. And, I've had mine for whenever they came out. I ordered it when it was released and it works really, really well. So, yeah. I like it. And now it's called the Yeti Studio. So I don't know if they changed the internal components or they just rebranded it. Hopefully they just rebranded it because it's been great. If you want to modify any of the lighting or setup macros on the keyboard, remember to check out their web-based setup. Yes, it's you can throw a link in the chat for something like that if you want. I don't know if it'll block it, but I think it's like launcher.keychron or something, keychron launcher, something like that. Best way to connect audio for a 2 in-person podcast with 2 Sony a7 IVs. I just love like the Rodecaster Duo, right? Or if you're looking for a mixer, it depends on the budget, right? Like if your budget's $300, the option is different. Your budget's $3,000. For a 2 mic multicam setup, it's hard not to just go with the Rodecaster Video because you just run it all in there. You got XLR inputs. You can use any microphone that you want, and that's really nice. A lot of things, though, like something I've been doing with my YOLO box a lot lately, since it doesn't have XLR inputs, is I've just been running like the audio through HDMI. So, and you can do that through most switchers and mixers and things, is you can bring in HDMI audio, which means you can connect a microphone to your camera. So I can use, the YOLO box doesn't have XLR. My Sony FX3 does. So I can run an XLR mic into the FX3 and use that audio. And now I have XLR audio in the YOLO box. So things like that. No real specific recommendations without budget, but yeah, there we go. Meant you as a former teacher, I'm a student. Okay, that makes sense, but I'm glad it helped. Thanks for videos, learned so much. Quick question, which is the best podcast service to record guests with video and audio? Waveroom is free, Hertz not reliable. I think Riverside is probably the most popular, and it works quite well. Sometimes people have problems with it. StreamYard's good too. Zencaster is a good one. There's a lot out there. Ecamm Live that I'm using right now, but it's probably overkill if you just need the interview thing because the pricing is a little different. So, yeah. Is there an option to plug a Rodecaster into a Rodecaster? Not through USB, I don't believe. I do have a video with the old Rodecaster where I tried that, and through XLR, so you're kind of like, you're taking the audio, the outputs, and putting it into an input, but it's a little janky, but it does work. There's not like a slick way. Love your production. Thanks for the honesty about my media. I appreciate that. What's up, Ono Coffee? Your mom told you last night she'd like a webcam. Got any recommendations? That almost sounds like a joke. Okay, so I'm guessing this sounds like an insult. Your mom doesn't need a fancy webcam. Like the Tail 2, for example, I don't think she needs a big PTZ webcam, right? If she does want PTZ functionality, which I don't think, for some reason, I'm just not getting the vibe that she would, something like the Tiny 2 or even the Tiny Light from OBSBot would be great, because then you can have PTZ functionality. The other two options, though, let me grab this one. I have a video coming out about one of these, and I need to make a video about the other. You know what? This is a perfect opportunity for the OBSBot to talk about other cameras. Let me just zoom in. Let's see. Here we go. Boop. Oh, that's my legs. This is so awkward. Okay, here we go. See, I didn't have like a product showcase area, but I would like to recommend one of these two. This one is the OBSBot Meet 2, and this is, I think it retails for $130 the MSRP, but I have regularly seen it for like $100, and that's kind of what I got mine for. Don't tell anybody. This is just a little 4K webcam. It does actually have some tracking. It's like crop tracking and stuff. Just USB only. It's super small, super lightweight, has a quarter 20 on the bottom, and then it has a little magnetic monitor thing. Boop, goes there. It is a $100 webcam, right? So you're not going to get FX3 quality. You're not going to get Tail 2 quality. You're going to get $100. I shouldn't say you're going to get $100 webcam quality. It's a 4K, very clear, super nice webcam. I have a video coming out about this, and the whole point of that video is going into it with realistic expectations, because the thing I don't like, which luckily companies have stopped doing, is when you spend $100 on a webcam and they're like, oh, it's going to look like a real camera, and all the product images from their website are like clearly from cinema cameras or something. It's like, you're not going to get that look, but you are going to get like better than a phone, better than a built-in webcam quality, and amazing low light performance and autofocus. A lot of cameras like this don't have autofocus. So this is one I would recommend if she wants something that levels it up. This one has just been announced. I don't even know if it's available for order yet. This is the YOLOCAM S3. So this is an all-metal webcam. It's kind of crazy. It's bigger than the OBSBot. The OBSBot is very, very, very tiny. This one's bigger than that, but it's still pretty compact. It's all made out of metal. It's just USB-C. This is from, YOLO, like the people who make the YOLO box make this camera. It also has autofocus. I was trying to get it plugged in, but I ran out of Thunderbolt ports and I couldn't get this connected to show you. This camera has an MSRP of $200, so more expensive. $200 for webcam, not bad. The image quality that comes out of this is like curiously good. I have no idea how it looks as good as it does. It's weird. Like, it's shocking. So I'm not sure if it's available for order yet. it does come with another little, like, it's kind of the same thing that clips on the monitor, but what's really cool too is the bottom and the side are magnetic. That's not metal. I don't know. Here, you can go like there. I don't know if you can see the camera's stuck over here. So that's kind of cool that it just has magnets built into it. You just stick it on metal things. I thought this would be more magnetic. The bottom. Oh, there it is. Yeah, see, there we go. That's kind of cool. And I guess this is all metal because it's really designed to like never overheat. So this thing, I need to do a video on it. I've used it in a few things, like as a camera. I did a members only comparison with it like last week. Just a very quick thing. $200, still pretty compact, super simple. I don't know what kind of witchcraft. This is far and away the best $200 camera I've ever seen image quality from. So if you want something that steps up, look into the Ecamm S3. If you just want something simple, easy to recommend, and it's just like nice, crisp, clear 4K, the OBSBot Meet 2. I just love how like simple, tiny, easy it is. And I'm guessing that's something your mom would like, is simple, tiny, and easy. That also sounds like a joke. Got the GoPro Hero 12 last year in August, and the 13 came out. Oh yeah, we're talking about tech stuff. I may or may not have something from that company over there. Don't know what it would be though. Let's see here. I'm on Windows and I use Voicemeeter Potato. Is there something similar for Mac? I think it's Voicemeeter Banana is Mac. I don't know what Potato was, but there is Voicemeeter options for Mac, and I've played with them and they're awesome. And I think it's Banana. Hey, look, speaking of Bananas, it's Bananas that my wife Heather would be here. You can go check out the replay from our stream last night on her channel, which is funny. I really like the color palette you're using in your studio. Could you take a moment to talk about the impact of color settings? Sure, yeah, color is huge. I mean, I like bright colors and I like all the colors, if you couldn't tell. Some people like muted colors, monotone, whatever. And that's all cool. Like there's no wrong way to do it. Color really does affect things. Obviously, there's simple color theory, like colder colors, blues, purples, those kind of things lead to a colder feel. So you'll notice, like in a movie, if someone is thinking about something, imagine a movie where there's like a family dinner scene and everyone's happy. It's probably going to be very orange, warm, kind of like that's going to be the colors that you see. There's going to be candles on the table, probably like a roasted turkey that's like roasted fried turkey color, whatever, brown. The lighting is very warm. Then imagine one of the characters comes back into that same dining room later in the future and it's totally empty and they're sad and they're thinking about their past. It's going to be empty. It's going to be blue. It's going to be maybe kind of greenish, like very cold. And so there's that, like the emotional effect of colors, but also just color settings in general. Like I don't want to undo my Ecamm colors that I have in here because I pretty much got things matching, but like, I don't know, can we do sepia tone? Oh, my scene is locked. Let me unlock my scene. So yeah, or just even black and white, right? There, if I put this in black and white, it feels very different. For obviously a lot of reasons, it feels very different, but I don't do anything crazy for the most part. I don't shoot in log for the stuff that I do, which I know it's just easier for me not to do that. So the colors out of the camera are pretty good. And then what I do is I usually just boost up the brightness. Like I kind of like play with the exposure curve to make things a little bit brighter, oftentimes slightly overexposed. Today, actually, everything looks pretty good. And then I tend to boost the saturation as much as I can without giving me like an artificial tan. So that may look super orange or something. So as long as I can keep skin tones looking normal and natural, then I boost saturation as much as I can, just because I really like bright, saturated colors. It's really fun. Any idea why Adobe Audition crashes? Probably because it's an Adobe product. Sorry. I use Audition all the time, but Adobe. While using the Rode ASIO connector and trying to... I actually don't know. If it's a copy protection thing, I don't think that would crash Audition. There's got to be some sort of compatibility thing, but I honestly don't know off the top of my head. Wondering what Wave XLR settings you suggest for the Shure MV7X. I got the Elgato. I haven't used the Wave XLR, so I can't really say. So I don't know what the options are, to be honest with you. use a light touch if you have a compressor, a little bit of compression, a little bit of noise reduction, a little bit of, if you have like a low, mid, high EQ option, usually, like kind of tweaking those so it sounds good on your voice, a little bit is good. Briz, what's up? What's the difference between using a microphone with USB and using one with XLR? That's a perfect question, right? I just say, use an XLR, use USB, and it's like, well, what's the difference? In terms of audio quality, there's no difference. There was a time when USB microphones probably didn't sound as good as XLR. That's not the case anymore. USB microphones are amazing, and there's so many good options out there. The benefit to a USB mic is you don't need anything else. You just need a USB cable into your computer. You could even run it into a phone or a tablet or sometimes like a gaming console. So the plug and play capability of most USB microphones is awesome. Most of them have a built-in headphone jack, so then you can just monitor your audio with no latency and you're done. So the simplicity is really what USB has going for it. XLR, you have way more mics to choose from. There's just thousands and thousands more XLR microphones than there are USB microphones. They tend to be longer lasting, not because they break, but because the XLR technology is like 100 years old. Like, it doesn't really change. Whereas, if you're using a USB microphone, USB standard shift, firmware changes, support software changes. So do you have the same longevity with USB? The thing with XLR, though, is it needs to go into something. So like I'm using the Rodecaster Duo here. You need some other type of XLR mixer or interface to take the signal and send it out to the computer. So you're adding more complexity now into your workflow. I like that. I don't mind it because it can process things. And I can just adjust all my sound with a physical piece of hardware, which I like. The bigger benefit to that is if you want to use multiple microphones at once. So if you're using one microphone, it kind of doesn't make a difference. But if you want to use more than one microphone, it's gotten a little easier. And there are like Rode has some software. There's some other software that lets you mix USB microphones. But in general, it gets a little tricky to use multiple USB microphones into the same computer at the same time. It's not just a matter of like plug a bunch of them in and go. Mixers like these and interfaces like these, you can, like this, I can have 2 XLRs. Excuse me, the Rodecaster Pro 2, I can have 4 XLRs. So if you want to do more than just, so I'm in like the middle of a yawn and a sneeze at the same time. I don't know what's happening. The Rodecaster Pro 2, you can have 4 XLRs. So if you want to mix that, that's really the benefit there. That's what I say. The Beacon USB mic is great. This is a cool thing, actually. I haven't used the Beacon because I didn't know if it was capable with Macs, but a number of newer USB mics do save your settings. Like the Shure MV7 Plus does this. When you go into the Shure app and you adjust it, it saves those settings. And so that if you take it and you plug it into another computer where the Shure app's not even on there, it'll still sound the same. I think that's awesome. Lewitt Ray, if you want one of the best mics on the market for talking. Yeah, the Ray is one of the first like new XLR things around because it's an XLR only microphone. It's a condenser mic, but it has like proximity detection. So it can tell how far away you are and it will adjust the gain to keep it consistent no matter how close or far you are to the mic. And it can also mute you depending on your distance. So if you're up to your mic and you lean back, it can automatically mute you if you want and then unmute you as you get close. Pretty sweet. I have a video all about it. It's awesome. What's up, M-Day? Nice to see you here. Bluebird seeing his ancestors. I love Bluebird. Algorithm intelligence, AI. Oh, oof. Oh, yeah, the Streamer X is a good one. If you want a 4K capture card with a single XLR input, that's a good one. And it has USB pass-through, or HDMI pass-through if you want to do like gaming and stuff or just run a monitor, which is pretty cool. Space looks super cool for someone who owns a desk, white walls, and wireless microphones. What we suggest improving, even if it means buying some new gear. I'm guessing you're talking about the space and not the gear. It depends. Like, this is our house, so painting the walls and, there's a lot of nail holes in this wall back here, but we own the house, so it's okay. Couldn't do that when renting an apartment, right? So it kind of depends. Lighting is good. Lighting probably makes the biggest difference. You can do like the YouTube thing that I have, like tube lights, RGB tube lights, but you can also get RGB lights and kind of throw them down. You can see the lights here, but you can throw them as like washes on walls. So you don't have to paint the wall, but you can, if you want to change the color or the tone, even if it's just making it warmer or cooler, you can just do a splash of light on a wall using like a tube light or even like a LED floodlight kind of thing. I've done that a lot. Yeah, lighting is huge. Dynamic angles are interesting. So even if things are all white, if you're like smashed up against your wall and your desk is right here and your camera's right here, there's not going to be any kind of depth and like weird shadows. So no matter what space you're in, having as much separation from your background as possible is going to make things look a little more dynamic. And then finding cool angles to shoot from, like shooting into a corner helps a lot, that kind of stuff. And there are a lot of ways of like damage-free hanging stuff. So if you can't paint, if you can't put holes in your wall, you can still get posters, you can still get frames that are very lightweight and you can hang without putting things in the wall. But even like if you're renting places, every time I've rented an apartment, I've put nails in the wall to hang picture frames, just patch it when you move out, it's okay. So that kind of stuff is cool. I think the coolest thing though is when the stuff means something. Like this isn't just a bunch of stuff from Hobby Lobby, like it's everything on the wall, everything everywhere has a story behind it. And so it takes longer to put something like that together, but then I think it's a lot more interesting, unique, and meaningful. That's what I think, at least. Matt says he has no musical talent, but you have talent for making music heard by others, right? Mix Club got a DLZ on day one. I think it only got 2 updates. Yeah, they're super reliable. They work really well, but they're not getting any more updates, which is unfortunate because they are great. Damien, thank you for the super chat. Appreciate that. Got the YOLO Box Extreme based on your review. Still trying to understand their pricing and wondering if I need a banding device router. You shouldn't need anything else than the Extreme. The Extreme is $2,000, which is a lot until you realize, well, it's an 8-input switcher, and the Blackmagic Ecamm Extreme, which is 8 inputs, is like $1,200. On top of that, so it's an $800 difference. But with the YOLO Box, you're getting basically everything I'm doing in Ecamm, all the different scenes, all the different picture-in-picture, auto switching, sports scores, whatever you need is all built into the YOLO Box. So I think that makes a value. And 5 of those 8 inputs are 4K capable. So that's really the only multi 4K option around. Like an actual 4K option, and it has 200 gigs of built-in storage. Now I sound like a commercial. I really love the Extreme. It is extremely awesome. Yeah, there we go. So what's unique about the Apogee Duet 3? Is it better than the Scarlett 2A2? I actually don't know. Apologies. I don't know much about the Apogee. Let's see here. Someone have an HC... Okay, see, this is a question I can't answer, but if someone knows... Windows laptop streaming specs. There we go. Thank you, David, for rectifying this horrific mistake. Any update on the Hollyland Venus live air review? Yeah, so it's funny. Hollyland sent this out a while ago, which is the Venus Air. They announced 2 cameras recently, and this one's pretty interesting. It's a webcam. I think the MSRP is $550. It has a built-in lens, but obviously it looks more like almost like a cinema box camera kind of situation. And it does have a screen that comes out to do either horizontal or vertical. The screen does not rotate, it just comes out. But let's go back over here to this. You do have, this is the worst. Why am I doing it that way? Just tilt up. There we go. You do have a lot of I/O on the back. The thing about this one, though, is there's no SD card slot and no battery. So this is like essentially a studio camera intended to run... Oh, no, sorry. There is an SD card slot. What was I thinking? Of course, there's an SD card. You can record, but you can't run it without power. It needs to be plugged in for power. And that's pretty cool. I need to figure out something with the firmware because I've been able to use it, but I haven't been able to like unlock all the features yet. So I'm actually like talking to Hollyland to figure that out. That's pretty cool. Thing I do like is there's a USB slot here, and you can just take, if you have like the Hollyland Lark or whatever, you just take their USB receiver, boom, and it automatically connects USB wireless mics. That's really cool. I like that a lot. Yeah, so far I like... Especially seeing the YOLOCAM S3, where I'd rate the image quality like an 11 out of 10. It blew me away. This camera, I think the image quality is pretty good, but I need to that's why I need to get into the firmware and the software more, and I need help from Hollyland in doing that. I'm not 100% sold on the image quality yet for the price. I feel like it should be a little bit better. What lens? It doesn't even, I don't know it's a 7mm f1 lens, but that, I don't know. I don't know. I would rate the image quality like a 7 out of 10. So I need to like tinker with it more and figure out more about it. I think it has a lot of potential, and I think a lot of my issues so far are probably more user error than product error. So I want to figure all that out and then probably do a video on that if I want to. Oh, I know I'm behind in comments. Apologies. Review impartiality has a place. However, I think reviews should know their biases, make their biases known so their audience can decide. That's the thing, is letting the audience decide. Like, as long as they know the context, they know that you were taken on this week-long trip for free, and you make that clear, then they can make up their own mind, right? And I think that's the thing. Don't pretend like that's not happening, and then it becomes dishonest. Yeah. Yeah, the S3 has insane autofocus, and so does the bigger YOLO cam, the S7. I don't know what they're doing with autofocus over there, but it's absurd. And it's interesting because I've learned a thing talking to the people from YOLO in China where their products are made. There's a huge culture of live selling, which is, I guess it's like what a lot of YouTube channels kind of are, but aren't honest about, which is literally just, it's almost like the home shopping network. Like someone will just run a stream where they're just like telling you about product after product after product after product. And they're just trying to get you to buy products. I don't think through them, probably through affiliate links. I'm not sure, but people just run streams for hours and hours and hours and hours that are just live selling streams. I think it's way bigger in China than it is here, although it seems like a thing that's maybe becoming bigger here. The cameras, though, so I think that's the thing with the S3 is it's designed to run for hours and hours and hours and hours without overheating because it needs to handle those kinds of streams. So even though that's something I would not have an interest in doing, or streams that I don't think are as popular here in the US, we get the benefits of, it's like how NASA invented Velcro or whatever. Like we get the benefits of the things. And one of those is also really fast autofocus, because in those live selling streams, people are like obviously holding things up and they need focus to shift a lot. And so we end up with these cameras that don't overheat, have great image quality, and can focus like faster than your eye can even like see. It's pretty amazing. I like it. Fifine AM8. Oh, it's such a good. Mine is right over there. I think that might be the most popular selling microphone on Amazon, is what I've heard. The AM8 is fantastic. The only downside, which could be a big one, is the handling noise is atrocious. So like grabbing the mic and doing this, you will hear every touch of the microphone. It's something to be aware of. I talked with Fifine about that because I just bought mine. I made a video about it. And then they emailed me just to answer some questions I had in the video. One thing they said, which I really appreciated, was they were like, it's a really budget-friendly microphone. So we had to choose, is it built really well or does it sound really good? And we chose to make it sound really good. And I appreciated that honesty because, yeah, it's like a $30, $40 microphone. It's very plasticky. You have lots of handling noise. But the sound quality sounds way better than a $30 or $40 microphone should sound. And so, you just know the limitations of your tools, right? So you just know that when you're using that microphone, try not to grab it, try not to handle it too much. Once it's set up and it's not moving, it's going to sound fantastic. And it is a great microphone. Let's see here. Super Chat Edward, thank you so much. I appreciate, super chats make a huge difference, especially in the current state of YouTube. Good Lord. Bracket Reviews says, thank you for my review. Just bought the Rodecaster Duo and the Pod mic, but it does not sound great. Is there any video available on how to make it sound great either before or after recording? Yes, on my channel, I have a video specifically called Make the Pod Mic Sound Better sound from the Rode Pod mic. So that is a video on my channel that walks you through that exact setup. The Pod mic does have a harsher sound straight out of the box, but you can tame it, adjust it, and EQ it to sound good on your voice. And so if you've ever heard someone use a pod mic and it sounds really good, it's not false advertising. It just takes a little more work than some other microphones that just sound awesome on every voice right out of the box. But you can totally do it. That video is on my channel. I can probably, if you just do Tom Buck pod mic EQ, it should pop up. It's like how to make the pod mic sound its best. Pam, we talked about, this is an espresso display. That is the brand. I think they're an Australian company, which I think is why, my fancy colors. I think that's why Rode sent it out. I know Rode uses this. So last year I got to see a demo of the Rodecaster video many months before the Rodecaster video came out. And they had the Rodecaster video set up with 2 of these displays. And I was like, those are so cool. They were like, oh my God, we're obsessed with these displays. They're awesome. And then so when I got the Creator of the Year award last year, this was included. And I was like, of course it is, because everyone loves it. But I think this is also an Australian company. So I don't know. We got Rode, Espresso, and Blackmagic. I don't know what's going on in Australia, but it's kind of good stuff. Kevgo, vlogging on APS-C 10 to 18 or 12 to 14. I think 10 to 18 at 2.8 for vlogging, even though I love f1.4. If you're doing a lot of outdoor stuff, 1.4 is often too bright unless you're using an ND, and being able to zoom between 10 to 18 is very, very practical. I'm just kind of, I know I'm not getting to every single thing. How do you set streams to 1440? This should be 4K, but I just did an Ecamm live. Did I not set it in 4K? The whole point was for me to do a 4K. No, it is stream size 4K. I don't know if YouTube's getting a 4K stream, but it's supposed to be. Camera question, been using the EOS R with 24 to 105 with autofocus off, still refocuses. What? That's crazy. I have no idea why that's happening. I have my EOS R. Oh, you know what? I was like, you can't see it. It's out of frame. That's my face. But if we go over here, there's my EOS R. I've been using that as my like podcast, typical streaming desk setup camera that has my 35mm lens on it. I do have autofocus turned on because I want it to autofocus. But if autofocus on the lens is turned off, it should not autofocus unless the RF lens have an autofocus switch. I don't know. That's a really weird thing. If autofocus is off, it should be off. I have no idea why. That's crazy. Oh, Matt, what? Take Heather out to dinner? I will. Actually, just yesterday we were talking about going out on a date, sushi date night this weekend. So you can support that, and I appreciate. That's awesome. Thank you. That really makes a world of difference. Can I combine a Facecam 4K with a Sony FX3 on a live stream? Yeah, I mean, yes. Will the Facecam look like the FX3? No, but you know, here's even a worse example, right? This is the webcam from a MacBook Pro, 1080p, super soft focus, and then this is my Sony FX3. This camera with this lens is a $5,000 setup. This is the camera that's built into the screen of my computer. So these do not look the same, but so if you're doing like a filmmaking cinema live stream, and then you keep switching between stuff where the colors are off and the quality is different, people are going to notice because it's all like filmmakers in the audience or whatever. If you're doing a live stream for most people on planet Earth, they're not going to care. They would rather be able to see the thing that you're talking about and understand it, even if the colors are a little different or the quality is a little different. And that's why it is tough matching the OBSBot Tail 2 to the Sony cameras has been really difficult. Ecamm has the best control options to do it, so I've gotten the best results in matching these cameras through Ecamm. So this is I can even show you. See, this is the OBSBot Tail 2. And then we can go over here, and this is the Sony FX3. They don't match perfectly, but it's not crazy distracting. But even some of my videos that I made, the switching between the OBSBot to the FX3, it is very noticeable. I would rather have the flexibility of the Tail 2 than perfect camera matching. Ideally, I would have both, but I think it's more important to just show what you got. Can a selfie stick with a standard camera mount and a long lens be used as a boom pole? Oh yeah, for sure. I used to do that. It depends on the selfie stick and if you're doing a boom for a mic. Yes, there's lots of different some mics just have quarter 20s in the bottom or different adapters. So putting a mic on a quarter 20 is not hard. It depends on the selfie stick. I was thinking monopods because I've used monopods as boom poles many, many times, especially when I was teaching and we're on budgets. Selfie sticks sometimes tend to be a little bit weaker, so it depends on how strong the selfie stick is and what microphone you're putting on it. But yes, absolutely. Thank you, Ryan, for confirming it's 4K. And also Ryan's channel is really, really fun. So fun to run into you here. What else? I know we're pretty much, I'm caught up in chat. That never happens. Appreciate that. Yeah, there we go. Try matching a Leica Q343 to an OBSBot Tail 2. That's going to be tricky. The Tail 2, I forgot where I was looking. See, here's the Tail 2. I love it. The thing that I've talked about, and I'll just keep saying this because maybe it'll get added in a firmware update. When I'm in Ecamm, each camera input has full-on picture settings. So I have brightness, temperature, tint, saturation, and gamma. And that's really cool. And then I can also add in a LUT. So I can, if you have a LUT, you can do all that. So it's a lot easier to fully adjust and fully control and fully match things. The OBSBot software has some of those, but like the color temperature is sort of weird. The big thing that's missing, which Ecamm has, is a tint option, just sliding it green or magenta. So what I did here, the biggest adjustments I made on the Tail 2 was I had to turn the color temperature way, way down, and then I turned the tint way, way over to green. And that made it more in line. Not perfectly. It's definitely not perfect, but it made it more in line with the Sony camera. And I could probably, maybe it's too green. I don't know, I could switch it there. And see, this is where your eyes play tricks on you too, because this is also a problem I have with mic reviews, right? Like, this microphone sounds awesome. I'm totally happy with it. If I start doing 10 different microphone comparisons and switching between them, your ears get fatigued, and now the microphone you thought sounded good didn't sound good, and like, it is tricky to do that sort of thing. It's sort of the same thing here. Like, actually, that matches way better. Not perfect, but better. If you're just looking at this looks awesome. Like, this does not look bad, and this does not look bad. If you switch between them and they don't match perfectly, that's not the end of the world, but then you kind of notice, like, it's not better or worse, it's just different, and you might prefer one or the other. Like, I prefer the FX3, which makes sense. What's your take on the Lumix systems? I've never used the Lumix camera other than at like the B&H, camera booth where you can pick up any camera you want and play with it. I know people who use them, even if they don't go on the fancy trips, really love them. And I think that I'm super curious about it. And like, if I could borrow one or try one out, I definitely would want to, because they seem really cool. They seem like they pack so many features into those cameras. It's nuts. And I like that a lot, but I don't have any experience with it. Yeah, myself. So that's all. Gma's here. What's up, Gma? Gma just was already a Gma and then became a Gma again this past week. So congrats again on that. Is there any way I can write a creative writing on a film slate? I mean, film slates are usually dry erase, unless you have the chalk ones, but the new ones are usually dry erase if they're not like the electronic ones. And then you can do all kinds of fun stuff with them. Or you'll see a lot of times movies, they just put gaff tape with stuff written on it. But yeah, there we go. You got the S1R2 if you do. Oh, what's your take on... Oh, sorry. I was like, what is that? See, I don't even know the camera model numbers. Try it. Yeah. B&H has a pretty sweet loaner program that I've been a part of for a few years. So I forget what my limit is, like my money limit, but they've let me borrow a few cameras throughout the years. And it's cool because they just send them for like a month, and then you just try out the camera, you send it back. You don't have to like do anything with it necessarily. But if you want to try something, like that's how I got the, what was it? I can't think of the brand name. The OC White boom arm, the Ultima that people like. I like the Elgatos, and people are like, gotta try the OC White, but it's like a $500 boom arm kit. And I'm like, I'm not gonna spend $500 on a boom arm. So B&H let me try it for a couple months, and I got to try it out, send it back. And that's super cool. I like that too, because it's not directly from the manufacturer. So that way there is no like, you don't feel any kind of pressure to, feel a certain way or whatever, because it's just coming from the third-party retailer, not the manufacturer. And that's really cool. What's up, Umar? First time? Yeah, I haven't gone live much. I love going live, but my like workload priority is usually like work on videos and then go live if there's time. And I don't know how this happened, because the video I was working on this week was really complex, and I finished it like way early yesterday. So I kind of ended up with like more free time today, which is cool. And I could be answering emails, or I could do a live stream. So I'm doing a live stream. What's up, Technicom 360? Matt 66, running audio for 50 years, know a lot about mics. Yes, Matt is one of the most knowledgeable people around when it comes to audio and microphones. Oh, here's the last thing that I'll wrap up with. A couple months ago, yeah, maybe like 2 months ago, I did a YouTube community post where I was talking about wanting to build a PC, not switch from Macs, not like the I'm switching dramatic thing, but just like last time I used a PC was 2005, and it was a Windows XP PC that I inherited from my stepdad's like old work thing. So it had like Adobe Premiere on it, and that was it. I could kind of do basic video editing on it. So that was like pretty much the last time I used a PC. Then I've been Mac ever since, personally and professionally. Did all of my like 7 years of college on Mac, all my teaching career. I wrote my master's thesis in Pages. Like I never used Word, never anything, like full Mac. But because Heather and I have been getting so much more into gaming this year, we've been using like Crossover and all this stuff to run Windows games on Mac, and it's not fun. It's not fun. And so I've been like, we wanted to put together a gaming PC. We know nothing about PCs. And so I asked for some feedback. I did a community post like, hey, need some help with this. And I got so much feedback. It was crazy. So I kind of built out a thing. Turns out PCs are expensive. And I had somebody from that post reach out and say, hey, I have a PC. I built it a few years ago. Turns out I never use it. Happy to just send it your way. And I was like, no. I can't accept that. But we ended up talking, going back and forth. And then I was looking at budgets and all the things. And it was like, you know what? Free is a good price in this economy. So he sent it this way. It's a couple years old, but still like, I think really good spec'd out from what little I do know about PCs. And then obviously you can update and change things. So that should be here on Friday. I'm definitely planning to like make videos about getting that set up. The only thing I need to get it running is a new SSD, because they just took the one that had all his data out, and then I get a new SSD. That's easy. And then I did order a Camlink Pro to put into it so I can do 4 HDMI capture things. Because I was thinking, initially it was like, we just want a gaming thing for fun. And that is its main job. But then I was like, it will be fun to see how it works with streaming stuff. And then as people in like the comments on that post were reminding me, it's actually super helpful because there's certain things like the beacon mic or whatever. There's certain stuff I talk about that only has Windows versions. There's certain pieces of gear that you can only update the firmware on a PC. So a lot of times I just have to tell people like, I don't know. I'm not sure how this works. Don't know. Haven't used Windows. Not sure. And now being able to like test that stuff, try it out, have recommendations for both Mac and PC, I think is pretty cool. And I just really like the tinkery aspect of PCs, getting to build things. So my plan is get this computer, get it up and running, see if there's anything I want to change about it, probably make some mistakes along the way. And then Heather and I are going to spec out and build a PC for her, and then just kind of see where it goes from there. So anyway, I'm super excited about that. Tin is demanding the PC specs. I have them. I can tell you what they are. And I know some of these words. Let's see here. So it is in a NZXT case, which is, I think it's just a full size case. It's an AMD Ryzen 7 3700 3.6 gigahertz processor with a GeForce RTX 2070 video card, an MSI B550 motherboard, 32 gigs of RAM, and I think those are the main specs. So I think that's pretty decent. I mean, it's better than the PC I have now, which is no PC. And obviously what's cool is like you can change all that, but instead of having to buy it all at once, you can swap out bits and pieces here or there, which is pretty cool. So eventually I think it will probably end up being kind of like the PC of Theseus, where like it turns into a new PC, but not all at once, probably. I wanted to we had to go to B&H. Heather was on a podcasting panel a couple weeks ago, and I really was trying to pitch B&H on a sponsored thing of like, I know nothing about PCs. You guys sell PC parts. Tell me about PCs, and then like help me spec out a PC while we're here, and we can all learn about it together. But like couldn't get things to come together in time. But I think that would be fun. Let's see here. Yeah, free 99, absolutely the way to go. Yeah, 2005. 2005 should be like 3 years ago, but it is 20 years ago, and it is sad. Let's see here. Free 99, such a good price. Ryukin has a laptop with a Ryzen 7 and Radeon Vega graphics. So light. I know nothing. I haven't used Windows since XP. The only time I've used a PC since 2005 was I did have a job from 2006 to 2010 where I was a sign artist at Trader Joe's, and we did have to use Photoshop from time to time. And there was a little XP PC in the sign office room, art room that we had. But that was just literally like opening Photoshop was the only thing I ever did, which is exactly the same as it is on a Mac. So it didn't feel any different. There wasn't like doing anything PC specific. That's the only time I've like literally even used a PC. I don't know what version of Windows is out. I know nothing. So I think that'll be kind of fun. Like, I think it'll be fun to dive in with a very essentially not having used a PC perspective, but not the I'm switching, not like I'm done with Apple, throw it all in the trash. Like, just what do we got over here? I don't know. I think it'd be fun. About the same power as the Xbox. Okay, sweet. I have an Xbox Series S. I think that's the one it is. And Heather has a PS5. And we play side by side a lot. And we play like the same game side by side. And I can see graphics quality wise, they're pretty even. But like loading time and processing time, the PS5 beats the Xbox that I have. But I have no complaints with the Xbox. So if that PC works as good as that. Tin was in our group streaming the game Content Warning last night. And I had to stop the stream at some point because my computer I was getting literally like 2 frames per second. No exaggeration. It was rough, had to stop. And then Tin was just streaming to Discord. So I was watching her stream on Discord and it was like, this is what you've been experiencing? It's like 4,000 frames per second. I don't even understand. It's like seeing into the future. So I was like, I cannot wait for that computer to get there. Does the Rodecaster need a cloud lifter for the SM7B? The Rodecaster Pro 2, Duo, Streamer X, Rodecaster Video? No. The only Rodecaster that needs a booster is the original one because it has 56 decibels of gain. All the other Rode things since then have 76. They all have the same preamps built inside and they are fantastic. You don't need any boosters. Any interface that you have that has over 70 decibels of clean gain, you probably don't need a booster. So a lot of older interfaces have like 56 decibels, and that's where you're kind of right on the line of you probably need a booster. Over 70, you don't. Unfortunately, most new things, Rode and non-Rode alike, have that, which is awesome. I would look at upgrading that processor. Yeah, I have all the specs, and I did put together like a wish list shopping cart based on like all the recommendations people gave, but I think we're going to be good for now. The problem is I'm going to say I just want to stream some or play some simple games. And then I'm going to go, I should stream these games. Oh, I should really use that Cam Link Pro and have multiple 4K inputs. Oh, I should do that. I can see things that start out simple never end simple with me. I think Windows 3.2 was my intro. My grandpa bought well, no, actually that's not true. The first computer I used was an Apple II in the school's computer lab. And then we also had the Macintosh, the 1984 Macintosh in my first grade classroom. I had one of those. So that was my first computer experience. In 93, I think my grandpa bought a Compaq PC, and that had Encarta on it, which was so cool. And that was like Windows 3.2, I think. And then my dad got a computer in 96, I think. And I remember him saying, we'll never be able to fill this up because it has 1 gigabyte of storage. So you can never fill up this computer. And that was Windows 95. I think that one ended up running Windows 98. My mom got a computer in 90. I think she got a Windows 98 computer in 1998. And then, I inherited my stepdad's PC in 2002 or something. And then I bought my iMac in January 2006 when they switched to Intel from AMD, which is so funny. It was AMD, right? That's what PowerPC is what they were using. And they switched to Intel, and that's when I bought my iMac. I'd saved up I think it was $2,300. I saved up so much money. Well, I saved up that much money. It was hard at 21 years old to save up that much money. And bought that, and then just have been Macs ever since. Even the classes I taught were all Mac labs. I piloted a Mac lab at an entire school district that is now like Mac supported and stuff. So it was a stipulation in the last digital media job I had. it was a program. They wanted me to start a new digital media program at a school in a different district from where I was teaching. It was a purely PC district, and I was literally. It was very flattering because they were really like wanting me to take that job and start a program there. So I was kind of in like a power position of like I can make a few demands, and I was like, I am not teaching this unless I can use Macs. Like I'm not even trying to learn a whole new operating system and new software and stuff. Like, plus it was an arts media entertainment program, arts media entertainment industry. Like Macs are kind of a thing that are used in that a lot. So it made genuine sense. We should be using those. And they did, and they still are. And the whole district is now, which is very cool. So I've been like not a PC person, but the world of gaming definitely opened up like, that's a thing that my Mac is not super well suited for. Mixcloud's been messing around with Meld Studio streaming on a 2-Mac setup. Is there any workaround for NDI? OBS has NDI, Meld does not. I'm honestly not a super NDI pro. I'm using NDI on my OBSBot through Ecamm because Ecamm is fantastic with NDI. I don't know much else though. I'm very new to like the PTZ NDI universe. Yeah. Tin has a copy of original Windows still wrapped up in everything. That's awesome. Have you taken any courses you can recommend on any topic? Not YouTube related. I haven't taken any. I have a Final Cut Pro editing course, Rough Cut to Final Cut, learn finalcutpro.com, just price reduced. But that aside, the course I have taken that I really like is a base course. Oh my gosh. I'm going to share this because this is literally why I made my Final Cut course, actually. So let's see here. I forget the exact URL. Wait, did my keyboard go to sleep? Did my keyboard? Oh, I had it turned off so I could show the thing. Oops. Let's see here. There we go. Beginner to badass.com. I think that's the URL. I hope that's the URL. What are we going to see here? Okay, yeah. So there's a YouTube channel called Bass Buzz, and tons of bass tutorials and things. And Josh is a teacher. He's great on the channel, and he has a course called Beginner to Badass, which has been out since 2016, I think. It's been out for a long time. And literally, this is the best class like on anything I've ever taken. I think it's $200. You get like lifetime access. And he just redid it. So I bought the course 3 years ago. I went through the whole course. And then just earlier this year, he completely redid the entire course. So it's the same material, but just better production quality and explained a little better, which is awesome. So I went through it again because I was like, hey, new version. I've never been able to like learn music or do anything on my own, and this like actually helped me understand that stuff. Like he's such an incredibly good teacher, and it's so well paced. Nothing else has ever come close to me in terms of that. And it's all like, it's just watching videos online. I saw that, and it was literally the first time I went through that. I was like, oh my God, he's such a good teacher, and he's explaining things so well. I want to do something like this. And that's what, then I did my Final Cut Pro course after taking that course because I was like so motivated by it. And then the other thing that I did take Casey Neistat's video editing course like 3 years ago when that came out, just because I was curious. And what I liked about that a lot was, and I kind of incorporated some of this into my Final Cut course, was a lot of the lessons were, here's an hour of just watching Casey edit. And he's not explaining the tools. He's not explaining all the things that like, I don't know if I'm going to use this again. You're literally just watching him go through and like, oh, this is where I need to put some music. This is how I would fade the music down. And I want it to cut into this. And, he's kind of just editing. He's explaining some of it. Some of it's kind of quiet. But it's like, I feel like I learned so much more from that than somebody telling me like, click file, send, like whatever. So I was like, you know what? Like, I'm going to combine those elements into my own course. And that's what I did. And that was fun. Oh, Dad used floppy disk. Speaking of that, I know a lot of people didn't see this video, but last week I got this Sony Mavica. We'll get there. Boom. Which shoots video onto a floppy disk, 5 seconds of 240 1080p video onto a floppy disk. It's pretty dope. Would you recommend a cloud lifter for most dynamic mics on the OG Rodecaster Pro? Yeah, I would, for sure. Even if you don't 100% need it, like not all of them really need it, but I found when I use that, anytime I use a dynamic mic, I put in a booster. The Clark Technic CT1 is a great booster if you're just kind of on a budget and you want, a booster. The FET head is my favorite one because you can just plug it straight into the back of the Rodecaster and the cable in there, and you don't have to do the like 2 cable situation. And sometimes I know boosters oftentimes are supposed to be plugged into the mic directly, but sometimes it doesn't work out, or it doesn't work well for my setup a lot. That's what I think. Eric just bought the Rodecaster Video. I'm going to sell my Ecamm. I'm going to study your videos. Yeah, to master the caster faster. Oh my gosh, they just did a huge update on that thing that I've not done a video on. It's only gotten better. It's a rock solid, reliable product. I hope you like it a lot. A course that Marine X recently took was in dog training. Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, empathy and patience. Raising a puppy or training a dog. Lots of carryover into real life, right? I love that. That's awesome. It's funny how that works. It's like I've been learning to play hockey over the last few years, and I've gone to some like goalie camps and stuff, and it's like there's so many mental things that carry over into the rest of life, which is really fun. Really fun. So, caught up there. I probably should do some actual work today. But this is really fun. I appreciate everyone hanging out on our random impromptu streams. Mavica brought back memories. Almost got one when it was new, but decided on the Cybershot line. The Cybershot line is still going around, right? I think so. Yeah, and Rican, it's like really, 1:30 over there, something like that, almost 2 a.m. You need to go to sleep. I need to get some work done. This was super duper fun. Appreciate everyone being here. Appreciate all the questions and hang out. Just general kindness. Like when I ask for how does a PC work, I get tons of people helping, including someone offering to send one, which is not necessary, but very cool. I don't know. The internet can be a crazy toxic place, and I feel very lucky that whatever niche I've carved out here has been filled with really awesome people and really cool experiences. So I love that. Appreciate everyone being here, hanging out. Obviously, all the support on videos and things does mean a lot. And with that said, I hope you have a safe, happy, healthy, fun rest of your day. I do have my 1 minute long outro, so we can all say goodbye in the chat and everything. And hopefully it will be not a super long time before I'm able to do a stream again, but you never know. So smash the bell or something, I guess. Smash like.